This video is supposed to be a sort of review for Ghost Recon Breakpoint, but also talk about where the series is going next. The goal of this video isn't to talk about what has probably already been said. You've heard it before. That Ghost Recon Breakpoint in 2024 is totally worth your time. That the game on its release was a poor looter shooter. That the story was just terrible. The story is big bad company do big bad things. We've heard it before. What I want to do is give Breakpoint the justice it deserves. Basically, I love this game. Yeah, you heard me right. Despite how beautiful Bolivia is, I'm drawn to Breakpoint's map more. Despite the story being a complete mess, and that's putting it lightly, despite the dumb AI. Alright, now we're really speeding along. Oh shit. What the How do they not see? Okay. How do they not see me? This game was pretty much dead on arrival. This entire video exists to answer this question. The question of why do I play Breakpoint more than Wildlands? For a while, even I couldn't figure out why I played this game more than its predecessor. But I know now, and I wanted to share that with you. This game does so many things right. It just gets bogged down by the things it does tremendously wrong. Like the damn AI. What makes a good stealth action shooter? The AI actually had to be competent at detecting the player, so as to give said player a real challenge. You can pick the difficulty, but the game literally tells you that all this will change is the detection speed and damage they do. I just said that the enemy needs to be good at detecting the player, and tinkering around with the difficulty settings do change that, but there were more ways they could have made the AI tougher. For example, increasing the visual range at which the enemy can detect you, increasing the speed at which they alert their buddies of finding a corpse. Seriously, why does it take them until the next full moon to tell their friends that one of the guards is dead? The AI could have been made way tougher if changing the difficulty actually changed more than two things. And extreme difficulty would actually live up to its name. Due to the base game being too easy, it is up to the players to add challenge in their own ways. Some people play with every HUD element turned off, some others will play with just a few elements turned on. Others will refuse to play with AI teammates. There is no wrong way to play, just your way. Just as a side note, future Ghost Recon games should have this level of modularity. It's a great thing when I can play with my own settings without affecting the settings of other players. Also, turning off all of your HUD transforms the game into a playable movie. Civilians in the area? You have to watch your fire. Can't see enemies through walls, huh? Better use sight and sound to keep track of them. Turning off the HUD adds a much needed challenge to the game. You're not just spotting all the baddies, then running around guns blazing. That's too simple. Now your movement is slow and methodical. You're actively planning your next step, considering everything before making a move. This is Ghost Recon, baby. The settings the game gives you allows you to play the game your way, which is great. This level of options is not something I see in any other games. My only gripe with it is that I can't make the game harder than extreme. I'm on YouTube a lot, so something I notice is the amount of videos for this game even in 2024. There is still a community for this game despite the terrible release. What's interesting is the kind of video they are. They're not just let's play videos, they're no commentary movies. This kind of content works really well if the game has the option to turn off all the HUD elements and fantastic graphics to really make it look like a short film. Truth be told, this is what got me into Breakpoint in the first place. A video by a guy on YouTube called Deef. Watching this video inspired me to get Breakpoint shortly after. Just now I mentioned graphics, and I don't want to skip over that one bit. In YouTube comment sections, there are many people that argue which game had the better graphics, Wildlands or Breakpoint. I think we need to understand the difference between visuals and graphics. MGSV The Phantom Pain is often credited to being a fantastic looking game even though it came out in 2015, and I agree. However, if you zoom in on certain aspects of the visuals, you can see the graphical blemishes. Pieces of foliage look straight up jank in a lot of areas. Textures can look quite pixelated in some. Graphically, the game is clearly outdated, but visually, it's still stunning to look at. Back to the Wildlands versus Breakpoint debate, I'd say Breakpoint beats Wildlands graphically, but not visually. Why? Aurora isn't as pretty, simply put. But stop to take a look at the soil you're walking on, the sand at the beaches, the snow in the mountains. It all looks really good, but there is no amazing sunrise or sunset in Breakpoint. No amazing views either. Breakpoint seems bland and alright compared to its predecessor. It may not look pretty, but damn does it still look good. It may not have beautiful scenery, but it looks damn realistic as can be. And what good would great graphics be without excellent sound design? Just listen. If the graphics didn't immerse you, then the sound design did. Bullet shots echo when you fire your weapon. You can feel the wind blowing past your ears, or the snow laying on your shoulders. Sound design in games aren't often talked about because it's pretty much expected in AAA titles at this point. But we shouldn't gloss over it. It's important, and in my opinion, the game nailed this part of the game so well. Graphically, the game is amazing. Audioly, the game is great. What about the gameplay? I've talked about the enemy AI, which is an important part of that, but what else is there? What is the goal of Breakpoint? In Spider-Man games, you really feel like Spider-Man. In Batman games, you feel like Batman. In Breakpoint, you really feel like a soldier in hostile territory. Well, you would feel like you're surrounded by enemies if the enemy were competent on their own. Breakpoint's trailers piqued our interest because we are no longer ghosts hunting down the enemy like in Wildlands. We are the hunted. We are the prey. Are we though? Because there has been no situation in my entire playthrough where I felt like a mouse in a trap. Dealing with hostile forces feels incredibly mundane due to enemy AI being too slow. I will give some credit. Once you're in action, the enemy actually puts up a decent fight if you're in extreme difficulty. The problem is that it's always easy to deal with an enemy before they successfully spot you. This is made even easier when you unlock invisibility. The AI already have a hard time detecting you, just give the player a way to walk around undetectable. Here is something Ubisoft needs to consider in their next title. If you give the player a plethora of tools to deal with an enemy combatants, the combatants themselves have to be pretty strong in their own way as well. If you empower the player, you have to empower the enemy to balance things out. Over time, stealth games have become easier to make them more accessible to a wider audience. I get the feeling that stealth games in general don't have the balls to truly make a hardcore experience. Things like being able to scan and see enemies through walls became the norm. Instead of having to use sight and sound to detect enemies, the game will help you keep track for you. This can be fine as long as the enemy is relentless or difficult in some other way. Back to Breakpoint, in stealth, you're seemingly undetectable. In combat, the extreme difficulty actually feels about right. Enemies will try to swarm you, breachers will try and rush you to close the distance, riflemen will shoot from a distance, snipers will shoot from a greater distance, and heavy gunners will mow you down if you say hello to their face. Weird that a tactical stealth game called Ghost Recon is more fun when engaging in loud combat than actual stealth. It gets tense during combat. I actually lost some gunfights. At least the enemy AI can hit their shots, so combat isn't the issue with this game, it's the stealth. I'm not even going to go over the terrible AI teammates that are completely optional. They're useful, just not recommended if you want to stay immersed. This review would probably have you believe that I must hate the game, but I don't. As I said in the beginning, I love this game. I can acknowledge its flaws, and those flaws are numerous. But what brings me back? I think for me, it's the ability to roleplay. I want to feel like one man against an entire army. So no AI teammates. I don't use invisibility because that tool is busted. I only use NVGs when I actually have them on my head. There are certain rules I follow, and because of these limitations, the game experience is enhanced. If the AI is going to be this dumb, then I'm going to limit the amount of options I have to balance things out. Turning off almost all HUD elements is necessary. Extreme difficulty is the max it can go, so that has to be on. I actually enjoy my experience with a game when playing like this. Just something for Ubisoft to know, games like this need to be challenging. I think they're too scared of making any of their games actually difficult because they want to make the game more accessible to a wider audience. This strategy hasn't really worked in their favor though, so yeah, hopefully they get their shit right before the entire company kicks the bucket. Ghost Recon Project Over is for now just a rumor with much speculation that it will be a first-person shooter instead of third, take place in another fictional setting, and take inspiration from other well-established titles like Call of Duty, Battlefield, and Ready or Not. If you know me, I love tactical shooters, so Ghost Recon has a special place in my heart. I'm not like the old dogs that played Warfighters or Summit Strike. I started with Wildlands, but I think a lot about what would make this game truly amazing. The problem is it's up to Ubisoft to make these games great, and right now, their reputation is in tatters. Many people have lost hope for Ubisoft. It's not hard to see why. Terrible game releases, not listening to their audience for years. The player base can only tolerate so much incompetence, and the thing is, their game ideas are usually pretty solid. Assassin's Creed is a great IP, they just squander it. For Honor is a unique fighting game, but if I remember correctly, the game was released with terrible bugs and connectivity issues, causing many players to abandon the game from the start. Once you lose that player base, it's hard to get them back. I don't want Ubisoft to die, but with the way things are going, they actually might not be around for long. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. I just want to thank everyone for watching. You're all beautiful. Stay dreamy. This is Davey Andre signing off.